Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Sorry it's been a little while. I know I said I was going to release 3 times a week. We're getting there. We're getting there. But the first update of Season 10 is finally going to be here next week, and that's 10.2. Hopefully the game should start to slow down eventually, but for now it is a snowball kind of get kills and dragons meta early, and that's probably not going to change in 10.2 either. So before we carry on with the rest of the video, I just want to say thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. I've had them on the channel a few times already. I actually play the game as well. I play it on my iPad. I do have it on my phone and thing as well, but I mostly play it on my iPad. But most of you guys are already going to know what it is. It's a turn-based RPG. It's a really good one. It's on the mobile. It's also on PC now as well, and it is free to play. There's over more than 400 champions that you can choose from and customize as well. They can all be a little bit different with the gear that you give them. And as I said, it is now crossplay as well. So just to make sure I get this right, you play with the same user and you can switch between devices. So you can play on the iPad, on the PC, on the same account as well, whenever you want to, however you want to as well. And the graphics are actually really, really good on the PC version. They're really good on the iPad version, but they're even better on PC. Go to the video description, and there's going to be a special link there. If you're a new player, you're going to get 100,000 silver, 2 clan boss keys, 10 mystery shards, and 1 free champion, which is the Adjudicator, which is really good. It's a really good start. It's going to be using this for the first couple of months you play. If you're unsure, by the way, you're going to be getting your reward sent to the little chest in the top right. I'm going to click it now. This is what mine looks like right now. So this is some of the stuff, but you'll have all of yours in here. You just have to go and use the link in the description and be a new player and play, and it's only available for the next 30 days. First of all, we're going to go into our bot lane changes. These are going to be the biggest ones for 10.2. And the first of those is a change to Stormrazor, a nerf. So the AD has been lowered to 50 from 55. The meta right now is a lot of Caitlyn and a lot of Jhin rushing that Stormrazor and getting some instant power, then being really strong in the rest of the lane. To be honest, I'm not sure if this 5 AD less is going to fix it. Like, the slow is so good, and that is where a lot of it actually comes from. You set up so many different plays with that, a lot of different fights. You get really good trades with it, and it actually helps you to kite in these first few fights as well, and make it a lot harder to get onto the AD. It's also no fun to play against, but Riot doesn't really care about that too much. But a little less AD makes them a tiny bit weaker in the lane phase, and that's about it. We probably, maybe, might see some extra stuff here. One thing as well is it actually kind of screws it up for Kai'Sa as well, because you needed that AD to upgrade your Q missiles, so we might have to go back to our Manamune build. The other problem we have is cloak stacking, getting loads of cloaks of agility, so they've nerfed that as well. The crit chance is lowered to 20% from 25%. This to me is a little bit weird because honestly, I feel like the easy option is just making them unique, so you can only have one of them in your inventory at one time. Instead, they've gone for 5% less crit, so if you stack them up, you're going to be at 25% from your first item, and then 60% from 3 others, so you're going to go to 85% instead of 100%. It means you aren't guaranteed to crit with 3 cloaks on one item, basically. Probably not going to do it as much now either, because it's not really as worth it. For some champions, this is even worse as well. Like, it's a double nerf, kind of a triple nerf to Caitlyn, actually. Like, you have your Stormrazor, first of all, Cloak of Agility being worse, you can't stack them, and also her passive does more damage with crit, so that is another one. Next up, we have a buff for an AD carry for Jinx, so she now gets excited, so her passive is going to trigger when she kills an epic monster. So epic monsters are our Dragons, Baron, and our Rift Herald. It now gives you the passive, so you can zoom around as soon as you kill it. Normally, you really want the first kill in a fight, and then once you have that, you get your passive, you run over the rest of it, and so that first one is really, really important, but this means fighting for dragons and stuff is way more risky against the Jinx. If she gets that, then she is going to be so much stronger, and with more dragon fights kicking off, it is actually going to matter, and it is actually going to play a factor in most games. I actually think Jinx is already pretty decent. She doesn't really need to stack crit cloaks. You can do, but getting your Infinity Edge first is pretty nice into your attack speed. You don't need Stormrazor either, so this is actually going to be a really good patch for her. Next up, we're back to nerfs for AD carries, and we have our first one to Aphelios. So the Calibrum, the Q cooldown has been increased to 10 to 8 from 9 to 6, and mark damage also lowered both the base and the percentage ratio. Severum Q damage has also been lowered per hit, and the mini damage as well, the AD value is also lower. So Aphelios has actually been worse in 10.1, but still really insane damage output early. Just if not a hedge, you're going to feel it a little bit more, but the damage and everything early game with the utility is actually really hard to play against. Even with being weaker, he's probably on the strong side. So we have our first nerf, which is to the sniper version. You can't use the Q part as much, which is the kind of firing in a line. Especially with cooldown reduction, it is up all the time. You burn through the bullets if you actually do it, but it does a ton of damage, and you can throw them out for some really, really good poke, especially when you can crit. So you can't use that as much, but you also do less damage with it, especially later. It's even base-wise, so it's going to be early. But basically, like, it's not that bad in lane phase, but it will feel pretty bad when you get level 9+. The second nerf is to our healing side of things, right? So remember, it does heal for, like, the damage dealt. So this is a nerf to both sides of it. It doesn't hurt as much in the first phase, and it's not going to heal for as much after. This isn't even the first time Aphelios has been nerfed since launch. Flamethrower weapon has been nerfed before, so now we have these two as well. Literally, only the Chakram is the one that is left untouched. It is honestly probably going to hurt a fair amount. They're having a real big issue with balancing him at the moment, and it's probably going to be a lot like Kai'Sa because there is so much in his kit. Last AD carry change we have for this patch is to 1-2 Draven, so his ultimate damage AD ratio increased to 110 to 150% bonus AD from just a flat 110%. Considering how much AD you do stack anyway, this is actually pretty decent, but it doesn't help him early game at all. He's not winning hard enough early. That is kind of one of the biggest problems we have at the moment and biggest differences between Season 10 and Season 9, which means mid game isn't going to be as strong either. This is actually mid game more, but also maybe with the Stormrazor being nerfed, it makes his early game a bit better in comparison to some of these other champions. Sometimes you actually do get a Stormrazor, so that kind of sucks, I guess, especially for 4 items. It's actually really good, but at least you're not getting it early, so you're not going to feel that nerf as much, and we might see some of him coming back, especially because Lulu is also getting some buffs here as well, so armor and AD slightly increased, and E cooldown, so your shield cooldown lowered to 8 seconds from 10 seconds. Lulu and Draven are actually not a bad lane at all because of the shielding and the protection for Draven to just dive on in and never die, so maybe we're going to see that a little bit more as well. Right now, at least, all mages have kind of been nerfed in 10.1 with these item changes that came through. It's kind of weird because I thought it was going to be good for them, like getting the mana regen in lane phase is really nice, but the upgrade item is not as good, and that seems to have hurt. That means that Lulu probably isn't going to be as great as she would have been like before that, but this is still going to help at least a little bit with all of these very strong all-in lanes like a Leona and like a Nautilus. We might see a few more scaling AD carries come out of this as well, or we might see her come in where we have like a Master Yi jungle or something that scales really well and she can actually help them carry. Speaking of Nautilus though, we actually have a nerf for him as well. Q damage lowered to 70 to 250 from 80 to 280. He's probably the strongest support right now. If not, it's going to be something like a Leona, but this isn't really the issue. Like, it's part of it, right? You do max your Q first, so it is 30 damage off rank 5 and a little bit less during the lane phase. I still think by the time you get to level 9, Nautilus has done most of the damage he is going to do for the game and snowballed the lane phase, which is the really important part. More than anything else, it probably means that Leona, Thresh, Blitzcrank, they are still untouched and they get even better now that Naut can't fight them as easily and can't do as much damage. That is the bot lane done for the rest of the video, so now we have some other changes as well. And we're actually going to start with something that isn't any lane, I guess everything, and that is Rift Herald. So the health has been lowered to 7,125, scaling up to 14,250 from 8,250 to 16,500. So basically, it's just faster to kill it. Sometimes it's actually a little bit bad to start Rift Herald because I've seen this a lot. Like, you get collapsed on because it takes a long time to do it. So either a couple of you die and you manage to get it, or it gets stolen away. It's much easier to nab it, especially before it despawns now when you have more damage yourself, but it's over 2,000 less health to burn through to actually get it. If anything, this makes the game faster as well because it's easier to take it, so you're going to lose towers more often in your games. I'm not sure that's actually a good thing. I think the game is very fast already, even though it does a kind of reward scaling with the Dragon Souls and the Elder Dragon and stuff like that. I've only seen Elder Dragon once in all my games in Season 10 so far. Next up, we have a change to Keanu. So a W attack speed lowered to 5 to 25% scaling from a flat 20%. So if you get to level 18 or thereabouts, is actually going to be a buff, and this is while holding an element as well, so it's active for a lot of the time during your fights. Usually though, it is max loss, so this is effectively a 20 to a 5% nerf, and that is how it's going to feel in game. It's going to slow down your clear speed if you want to jungle, which isn't very good anymore by the way, so you probably don't want to do that, or less deadly when you're actually fighting someone. Also, your wave clear will be down if you're auto attacking because you don't have as much attack speed and you have the less like Tiamat splash as well, so you just can't get rid of that wave and roam as much as you want to. Next up, we have a kind of cool one though to a very underplayed champion. So Ziggs was in the meta ages ago, sort of, but now his Q damage has been increased to 80 to 280 from 75 to 255. Also, his W knockback, so the satchel knockback, has been increased to 500 from 400. It's kind of a weird champion and in a weird spot as well. He could be good bot lane after this actually, and that's probably like my first thought. Giving him 25 more damage per bomb, has a really low cooldown by the way, so you can poke forever with this. It's really good for wave clear though, pushing waves out cleaner and quicker. One biggest downside is that poke is not really that meta at the moment. Like, I can't think of many poke champions we see all the time. Normally, it's about dive in and kind of like having these big fights, and you don't really have time to poke before. Bot lane though, especially, it could be pretty cool. You can take your towers faster, but it's going to be good with Nami now as well, that her E is going to apply on spells. That could actually be like extra slow for you, but also extra damage. Now, next up, we have a Frozen Heart change. So the armor increased to 110 from 100. I doubt this change is going to make too much difference, if I'm honest. I don't think people are buying it because of the armor and having Temu is going to be really good, but because it doesn't really fit with the game as much. It is really good on some champions, like in Nasus, right? But we don't see him that often anyway. But it actually is really good against auto attackers if you jump on them, but that's about it. In a crit meta as well that we have kind of right now with AD carries, and when you're building tank items, Randuin's is king. It's so good against crit, and that is normally going to be first. Thormau is also also a really good item paired around that as well. With the healing cut, it means that AD carry's lifesteal is not going to be as good, and that is around the same armor value, so I'm struggling to see why people would buy it. Next up, we have a change to Karma. Now, this technically could be bot lane, but it also could be for top lane as well, maybe even mid lane. Your Q damage has been increased by 10 every single rank, and your W damage has also been increased by 10 every single rank. So the problem for support is that there are basically better damage champions like Azara, for example, and better shield champions like Lulu, and then you have the kind of stuff in the middle like Nami, so she's in the middle somewhere, is just not as good. Next up, we have a pretty cool buff actually to Trundle. So his W move speed has been increased to 30 to 50% from 20 to 40%, and your E slow increased to 20 to 60% from 15 to 55%. This is actually a pretty good change here because one of his biggest problems is people kiting and running away from him before he can kill them. So you're going to be 10% faster and they are going to be 5% slower, so you should be able to stick to people a little bit more and get down more damage out. So like, it is a move speed boost, which is really good, but it also is kind of a damage boost. Just a quick one before we get on to our last one of this video. We have something here for Victor. So now he gets his base mana per level instead of the hex core value. So roughly that is 300 more mana level 18. It's a pretty small change, but he gets a fair chunk of mana now. And technically is actually a bug fix. It was never supposed to work like this, but it has done the entire time. So he's always had less than he should have. This last one I've left until last deliberately because it might be really big and it might be absolutely nothing. Sonya's E is going through a couple of changes. So the haste percentage for all allies increased to 10 to 16%, and also you get more now from the ratio for the per 100 AP. That is also the same for herself, except the bonus now for Sonya is increased to 25% and more for the ratio instead of 10 to 14%. So it's a 2% increase when you finally max it out for everybody, plus whatever AP you have as well, right? So maybe like 3 to 4%, which is not bad. The big part though is it's gone from 10 to 14 up to 25% for her, and that means she is going to roam or get back to lane so much faster now. I don't know if that actually helps Sonya or not. That's kind of the thing, right? She'll be way harder to focus in theory though as well, because if you run away from fights, like that is probably the biggest thing. You'll be really hard to lock down. That is going to wrap up our rundown of 10.2, which is dropping next Wednesday. So thank you very much for watching the video until the very end of the video. I appreciate it. But for now, I will leave you with robots.